the world of the internet.
It can get a bit much sometimes.
I don't die. Pretty much.
Welcome to
Move Over Mother Teresa.
What is my purpose? What am I gonna contribute to the world?
Interviews with creators who
Show the world
give
vulnerability and masculinity.
Encourage consciousness.
Can I swear?
This is Move Over Mother Teresa. I'm Mira Kumar, and I did leave the house to record this intro, but the funfair are in town, which means they are blasting Nicki Minaj at max volume, and there's nowhere within a 5-mile radius that's safe. So I'm at home with the window shut, thank God for triple glazing, to tell you about today's guest, who myself, Tom Cledwin, and Fee McKenzie had the pleasure of sitting down with. Bailey Greetham Clark is a fitness instructor and creator who is bringing movement and exercise to people in care homes, but he's documenting his work online. And his videos are now reaching millions and millions of people, but he says he doesn't like being called an influencer because, well, for a number of reasons, but one of which is this is about more than social for him. He has his eyes on change at a government level.
It's me and you together, so if you drop this, I'm not going to be happy.
This world is suffering. It's full of people that are fake, it's full of phonies.
Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, well done, woo! Come on!
You've got a moustache to die for.
Thank you very much.
Beyond
And
that,
eyebrows.
how would
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
I have been looking, yeah.
Funnily enough, I do dye the moustache.
Do you?
Yeah, that's an exclusive. I've not really announced that
is-
anywhere.
We've got our scoop. We
Uh,
get our
Let's get the
scoop in the
scoop.
first 30
There's your
seconds.
scoop.
And we could just...
It's ginger.
Is
It is
it?
ginger.
Oh.
My hair, I don't dye my hair. That is natural, but my moustache grows ginger, so I have to dye it because it looks all weedy and faint and light when it's ginger, and it doesn't look as strong as it does now. So I dyed it last night in preparation for
Oh,
this.
did
Oh,
you?
thanks for dressing up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mine is like rapidly going grey. So
We'll
just,
dye yours after this, don't
thank
even worry.
you.
Just for
Get the Bailey look.
Yeah. But aside from the tash and the eyebrows, how would you explain to our listeners what you do?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. What do? I do a lot. I primarily work to bring exercise to vulnerable groups, more specifically the older generation. I think that's a huge part of my job, and I really love that. That's my everything. But on the side, then I make beautiful little videos, sort of documenting my work and showing fly-on-the-wall snippets of just exactly what that journey looks like and what me working in these care homes and care villages and, care settings is and what it's like and the magic that comes along with that. So yeah, primarily I'm a PT for older folks.
And I think I want to get into just your perspectives on the elder community and where the culture's at with certainly in this country. Our relationship with that demographic. But just quickly, you're already one of our Drop Dead Generous grantees. Can you just re-explain, tell us the story of what you did and what went down?
Gosh, that was really fun, honestly. So I guess firstly, I was just reached out randomly by like an email and a phone call, and I was like, okay, interesting, what's this?
Scam.
Yeah. Do you want $500? All you have to do is put your email address in. I went back and thought about it. I was like, I'd love to do something really cool. What genuinely can we do, which is going to bring joy and generosity to the people that I work with? Because I think it has to mean something to you. If you're going to do something kind for others, I think it has to come from a place of passion. So I immediately thought, what can we do for the care home residents that I work with? And I was like, we do exercise all the time, and exercise is great and it's really important, but that's my job. What can we do that's just insane? So we found this lady called Kath, and she owns 2 miniature Shetland ponies. And I reached out.
Who wants to see Joe? Do you want to see Joe? Come on, Joe, let's have a look. Joy, say hi to Joe for us. This is me. This is not my horse. It's not even an horse. It's a miniature Shetland pony.
It was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. It walked around and the residents, their faces lit up, and those that couldn't get out of bed, we brought it to their bedside and they stroked it. And it, just for that moment brought 5 minutes of happiness, of, pure joy to people that might not have experienced that day, that week, that month, or even that year. And it was at that moment, I realized just how powerful Drop Dead Generous was. Learning what we could do with, and $500 to some people is a lot. $500 to some people isn't. But to be able to do something so powerful like that was, it was special.
Yeah, such a amazing story.
Yeah.
But this is obviously related to what you do now, kind of, because
yeah.
you're an entrepreneur.
I guess so.
Yeah. You left college, is that at 17, is that right?
Yeah, pandemic. I guess dropped out is quite an American phrase, but I did quite literally leave and decided not to go back.
And then what did you do?
I started this. I got a part-time job at a little fashion shop in a very small back street in Grimsby, which it's not as weird as it sounds. I'm not explaining it great.
Very chic, did you say?
Not really. It wasn't very chic. I got the job to try and sort of help them when it came to how do you navigate the pandemic now? You can't have customers. So he wanted me to just go into the shop when it was locked down and sort of take pictures of items and put them on the internet, because all young people are tech savvy. So I was immediately qualified for the job. And I started my business at the same time. And I guess it wasn't even a business back then. It was just, I'd been boxing for a long time. Boxing took me out of a real dark place growing up, and it gave me a second chance. I'd coached to pay for my membership, my boxing club membership. So I'd got a lot of experience with coaching by that time, coaching for about a year or so. So at 17, I guess, already a year with some experience was quite a front foot. And the local paper would do little stories, and they did a piece where I went to the championships and won a little silver medal, and that was nice. And from that, a group of adults with LD and autism reached out, and they asked if I would work with their group and just do some boxing classes over Zoom. So yeah, absolutely. That sounds incredible. I'd never worked with anyone from vulnerable groups to LD and autism. I'd not had that experience. So it was a brilliant opportunity to learn for me. And I was really quite excited. And through that, I realized vulnerable groups didn't have the proper access to sport and exercise. And I was like, somebody should do something about that. That's not great. And then kept working with them. And I was like, somebody needs to do something about this. And I guess it turned out that somebody was me. The pandemic lifted and we had our first in-person sessions. I turned 18. I quit my part-time job. I went fully self-employed. And I decided I was going to work on a local community level to bring exercise and sport to vulnerable groups. And that's exactly what I did. I spent 2 years working with young people with behavioral issues within schools and academies and primary schools, adults with LD and autism. We built women's only groups. We pulled funding from charities locally to create safe spaces for women to exercise and hired our first female coaches. We work with dementia and Alzheimer's and stroke associations where we built these accessible classes. And this was before I was even 20 years old. So was really a massive advocate of bringing exercise to vulnerable groups, and then it just dominoed. So it's been a journey. Yeah.
I laugh because it's just like that little line you have before I was 20 years old. I mean, what were you doing at 18?
I was doing many things. Were they helping the community? Yes, subjective. So where were you getting the funding from that? I know you said you got some grants.
From the beginning, I've been a big fan of putting my work on the internet, and I've understood that the power of the media, mainstream media, is crucial. So I'd email the BBC locally, nationally, every single week with an update on what we're doing. Nobody would reply, but then occasionally we'd get like a response, and a local film crew would come down and they'd film it and it'd get online. And then from that, people would see it, and charities locally would say, we have this little pot of money. Would you like to run a project for us? And we just kept doing that, and it kept growing that way. And, we work with lots of local charities that pull down Sport England funding and, NHS funding, and managed to distribute that on a local community level and sort of do what we could with what we had. And my main goal was that we'd never charged a participant. So that was my main goal. And I still achieve that now. I don't talk about that as much now because it's a different world within care. The people we work with, either, they pay for their own care, and then through that, I work with the care companies to make sure that some of the profits are put into the exercise classes. So it's not directly the participant paying, but they kind of indirectly are still. So I don't shout about it anymore. But we got to a point where we helped over 3,000 people locally access free exercise classes within the community. And that was something I was really proud of on a local level. So yeah, that's where we got our, that was a long answer to where we got our funding from. Lots of little charities. We partnered on a very small local level.
And since then, obviously, you've sort of touched upon it now. You work with like some businesses, I think, on a much like longer term basis as well, and some like brands, organisations that I think many people would know. Can you list a few of those?
Yeah. So I guess what we did is before I go into who we work with now, I guess I'll help transition. We decided that what we were doing was fantastic, but we needed to really focus on one group because we were helping a lot of people, but on a small scale. And I wanted to see if we could make that bigger and try and help more and more people. And my grandparents took me in at a young age. They raised me. I had this deep-rooted love and passion for the elderly generation. So I decided that through that and experience working on projects with the likes of Dementia and Alzheimer's Association, I decided that care homes really could use a bit of a push in terms of bringing exercise into these places. I wanted it to be done properly and appropriately and on a wider scale, on a weekly scale, because when I started, exercise sessions were like, oh, we'll have a look at our activities budget, that we share with also having to get paint and dominoes and a singer. And, oh, there's maybe £20 left in that pot. Could you do a monthly exercise class? And it's like, oh, these residents, they deserve more. They really do deserve more. The more we move, the healthier we are, the longer we live. And it spent a long time trying to find out how to convince folks within, upper management levels that this is crucial and it's important for their residents. So we went all in on care. We went all in on social care. We decided to really focus on the world of social care and bringing exercise to our elderly generation. And through that, we decided that we needed to be seen more and started making these little videos. And then it just took off. And then we managed to find people that shared that mission and really wanted exercise on a better and bigger scale for their residents and people that cared. So companies that cared. And, we ended up working with companies like Tanglewood and we now work with Bupa Care Homes, and they share an absolute love and passion for bringing exercise into their homes. And it's nice to find companies on, lots of different levels, from the likes of Bupa, one of the leading healthcare companies in the UK, to the likes of Tanglewood, who are a Lincolnshire, sort of Nottingham, expanding slowly, but 14, 15, 16 care home group, who also managed to decide, we're going to take some of our profits and we're going to reinvest them into our residents.
Social media is often seen as a place for younger people, for this younger content. And how do you think you bringing in, elders and content about elders on social media either helped you or was something you were working against?
I think what's really nice is that we have managed to, and not us single-handedly, because there are a lot of great people in the sector doing some great things and showing that work on social media, but it quite felt like, I was one of the, and I don't want to say this without sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I really started filming a lot. I started really opening the doors and opening sort of the world to the world of care and bringing cameras in and doing some really cool stuff. So, my own work where I document exercise within care homes, and then the work I do with puberty where we do the old friend club stuff. Like it feels like we've taken care to the mainstream media through our own social content, but also the amount of press we get.
And how, right? Like, so what separates your content from the content you're referring to previously that didn't break through to kind of mainstream?
I guess, firstly, it's real. Everything we do is absolutely real, from exercise classes on, my own socials to the funny clips you see on Old Friend Club. It's all genuine. There's no second takes. What we get is what we put out there on the internet. Secondly, we spend some money on it. I'm going to be honest, we are very lucky that we can afford a cameraman to come in and we can afford a decent production level so that we can genuinely show the world what it looks like appropriately. We on my socials, I'll stick to talking about that. We're very much fly on the wall. But also, I'm fully mic'd up. The audio's good. The quality is good. You can see, hear, and feel the vibe of what's going on in that care home. Whereas I think, and this is maybe the difference, when we go into a care home session, I'm genuinely delivering an exercise class for that 45 minutes, an hour, and I just tell my cameraman, keep rolling. Don't stop rolling. Whatever we capture is what we capture. Whereas I think when you pull out a phone, you sort of have to go, wait there, everybody, stop. Let me just film this. And the quality's not as good and it becomes a little bit inauthentic. So when we started bringing a cameraman in and started showing just pure everything that happens, I think we started going against the grain a little bit.
So was that something that you developed over time?
Yeah,
And what did
massively.
what did those early days look like?
The early
And
days were
yeah.
a phone. The early days were me thinking, right, we're working at a couple of care homes. This is great, but we need to show the world and the world of care that this is important. How do we do that? Well, the internet and the media. So I would work and I'd go into these care homes and I would quite literally say to an activities coordinator, if you don't know what one of them is, it's usually the person in charge of the well-being and lifestyle of a resident and the residents that live in a home. And I'd say, quickly, can you record this 1-minute clip? So at first it was a little bit set up. I knew what I was doing, and it'd be nice if we got a real authentic moment out of it. And that worked well in its very early stages, because we'd take a load of videos, I'd go and work in my homes, and 1 out of 10 videos would do well on social media, and that was really exciting. And then you'd get a few 100 followers, and then you do it again and get a few more 100 followers. So at the beginning it was very slow and very steady, but then, like I said, we started working with care groups who then were investing in what we did, which meant we could afford to bring a cameraman in and really up the quality of that. So yeah, at first it was very much quick, take my phone, record this moment. And then when we were able to transition, it was so much nicer, because I feel like I could be so much more authentic and so much more genuine, because I don't even remember the cameras there. We just work and let the camera roll.
And without geeking out on the production too much, I think there's an important nuance here, which is like once you've bring in proper kit and get mic'd up and almost up the production, actually the output is still authentic, kind of lo-fi. It's just produced properly. So what you don't see now is these like beautiful like cinematography and edit style. It all feels still so natural. So. Yeah,
and I think that was really important. That was what I really was insistent about, making sure that the camera man, or whoever we work with, usually it is a man and it's Caden. I don't know why I'm just calling him cameraman. Caden's who we usually work with. I'm very insistent on a certain distance to take from the shot, not to be in the resident's face or my face, and to just be that fly on the wall. Because if we want to capture real moments, you need to sort of, I don't know, I guess like a CCTV point of view of you've just captured what's happened.
So culturally, care homes are a little bit foreign to me. In Indian culture, we tend to have multi-generational households. You know, I grew up with my grandma, my mum, her siblings who were younger in the house, me and my sister. That's 3 generations. That's actually quite common. And so I guess it was when I was older that I came to understand what a care home was. What would you hope that your content educates someone like me on, or delivers to me?
I think what's important, because I guess it is a very westernized, idea of, and I won't say put in, because sometimes we do have to put our parents, grandparents into these care facilities. But I've worked with plenty of residents who have decided they would like to live in these communities themselves, because friendship, relationships, people to speak to, especially when loved ones have passed away and it's just them at home. I think what my content does is show the world that care homes aren't necessarily what we see in mainstream media. There seem to be a lot of exposés. Every time we talk about care homes, it's a CCTV piece of somebody doing something dodgy and upsetting families and residents. There's not a lot of positive stories about care. So it's nice to firstly be the person who puts those positive stories out there, but secondly, open up the world of care to the world of the internet, to the world of everybody else, and to say care homes are beautiful communities where lots happens, and it's not a place you put the elderly and the sick. It's a place where people decide to go themselves because they want to live with others and feel like they have friends and experiences at a later age. It's not the end of life. It's the beginning of something different.
Yeah. And I guess breaking some of those preconceptions about what it is to grow old.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people have this fear of, what happens when I'm older? What happens when my loved ones die, or what happens when I think also the way society is built and some of the messages that we're fed, growing old is not seen as a great thing,
Not desirable.
Not desirable, especially as women, you're kind of written off after a certain age.
So young as well.
Yes, so young.
From 40.
Exactly.
27 actually.
Very good. Just turned 28. So what I really like is seeing their personalities, because we're kind of fed this. Elders are you know, they don't really have a personality. They're very sick. They're old. They can't do anything. They're not really having fun. It's just all the life has been stripped away. And actually, it's not like that. And your content shows that.
We whenever we ask residents, like, the age thing, you know, I always go, how old are you then? Because some people think it's rude to ask, but I love to ask to see who, you know, I work with 105-year-olds. It's crazy. And like, oh, I'm 92, but honestly, I sort of feel like I've paused at 29. Like, I genuinely still feel like a 29-year-old. I'm just in an older body. Like, your mind doesn't change. Your mind doesn't age at all. I feel like society does write them off, but actually, the only thing that does change is just their ability to move as fast. Yeah. And some of them are quick as well. You know, I say that, but really these people are still full of life and joy and personality, and at heart they feel in their 20s still, and they still act sometimes in their 20s as well. I was in a care home the other day talking to this group about how we could implement our work in their home, and I like to go in and feel the vibe of the home and see what it's like. And these two women, it was 3:00. They'd set up between themselves to meet at 3:10, have a glass of wine, play a little game, and then go off for dinner together. And I was just like, this is cool. This is real life. This is meeting your friend after work on a Friday, going for a drink and talking. And that's exactly what they did. And it shows that life doesn't end when you go into care. It just changes, and not always for the worst. In a lot of situations, the care homes that I work in, you know, they change for the best. These places are communities as opposed to care homes, you know, full of people who are sick and dying. They're not. There are poorly people, but even so, they're given a better quality of life because they're able to be cared for properly and appropriately.
Yeah, and also puberty. I don't know if you guys checked out Old Friends Club.
Old Friend Club is
cracks me up. They're so. It's just like, it's all the things that you would want to say and like how you would want to answer the questions. But they've got no filter. They're like, do you know what? We can say what we want now. Whereas I'd say my second answer, not my first one. And I love, can you give a few examples of the questions you ask hosting the show, and then some of the outrageous but amazing things they say?
Yeah, I guess dating advice is a hilarious one. We asked some of our residents what their dating advice would be, and we got things like, don't bother, stay away from men, marry a rich man.
Amen.
So there was some brilliant stuff. And then in comparison, you know, we asked for advice for the younger generation, and we get some really incredibly wholesome answers, like, you know, take every day at a time, and you know, really enjoy the little things because life moves fast. And when somebody is telling you that from 91 years old, you sort of listen a little bit more. It's different to your dad who's maybe 45, 50 going, you know, take care, so, you know, enjoy those little things. You go, all right, Dad, well, you know, you're not too much older than me. But when there's a 90-year-old saying, you know, slow down, you sort of go, okay, I'm gonna slow down a little bit because this guy knows what he's doing. So yeah, Old Friend Club is really sweet. We get some beautiful reactions, and the internet has quite literally fallen in love.
Can you tell me about how the show came about, the Old Friend Club?
So I'd been making my videos in care homes for maybe 6 months, 8 months, and I believe one of the founders, Kit, one of the founders of Puberty, really was in love with these little pockets of wisdoms. Where there was a couple of posts out there where care homes would ask a question to the resident, and the resident would share the answer, and he loved those, and he thought they were amazing. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I was then approached by a guy called Ollie, and Ollie's a really cool dude. Ollie Williams, if we're shouting people out, real cool dude. He is the creative director of Puberty. He approached me after they shared a piece of my content. So Puberty did, you know, they reached out. They said, we love your videos. We'd love to share a little bit about you.
Puberty is a digital media company.
So they, I mean, they're a powerhouse of 47 million followers on Instagram, something like that. You know, Kit was sat down interviewing Mark Zuckerberg the other day. So these guys are incredible, and they do some beautiful things. That they just celebrated 40 million followers, and they're planting just so many, I can't remember the specific number, but they're planting tens of thousands of trees and really giving back. So they're a really cool company, but they started because the founders, Kit and Ira, just started posting constantly on social media and create these beautiful communities on socials. But anyway, Ollie reached out and said, we love your work. You know, we're big fans of what you do. We'd love to create something with you. And I went back and had to think about it. We had a few chats and wondered what it could be. And they had a lot of ideas to bring to the table, and we experimented. And I remember the first shoot day, we brought a camera. We decided we were going to have a host because we were looking between whether there should be a host or not. The main goal, the main mission was to just share stories of residents. And when we did that, it was just beautiful. We put the camera down, we clicked record. I don't know how you do these things. Actually, I don't know what you click.
Before you recorded, and then nothing happened. And then we click record.
We had a cameraman, which was very helpful.
It sounds like it.
Thank God.
And just magic happened. We just sat down. I was not in gym gear for once. Everyone got their heads together. The guys at Puberty brought some beautiful ideas, and I helped pitch in where I could, and we just extracted these stories from. I say extracted. There was no. They just blurted out. Yeah, tell me your story.
Who's better, Kim K or Chloe?
No, do you know what? We just sat down and pressed record, and we just got some gorgeous content, some gorgeous stories that came out of these residents, and it was like. Sometimes we were giving these people a new lease of life, and it just dominoed. I mean, the first few months we had 300,000 followers. Our whiteboards went viral. Our videos went viral. It was really special. And now we're about a year in, and we're at 1.4 million followers on Instagram.
So cool.
We were on Australian breakfast TV the other day, me and Kit, sharing that journey and how it came about. We've done some really, really cool work with, some cool people like... we worked with a show for James May where we watched and reacted to that, and we do some cool stuff. It's really, really special, and I'm very lucky to be involved in it. But yeah, it was Puberty's brainchild, and I sort of pitched in where I could to help with connecting the little gaps and hosting. And
you ask sometimes who their celebrity crush is.
Yes, we did. We asked celebrity crushes.
Who's hot right now? Then tell us.
Kim K.
Really?
Kim K, that was mental. So we like to ask a bit of different, questions. Who was your celebrity crush? You get a lot of the classics, but we also ask like modern celebrities as well, because again, old people aren't just like Frank Sinatra. And, some of these people that are in care homes are only 70s. And this is the mistake we sometimes make when working in care homes. You see people go in and playing like Vera Lynn. This guy's 70. This guy was rocking out to like the Kinks and stuff. Like Vera Lynn is not appropriate. And this guy's like, listening to Vera Lynn. He wants to get his rock on, man. He wants to get excited.
Can I ask? Have you ever gone into a care home or community and people recognise you, as in like the actual residents recognise you from social?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Unfortunately not. We do show the residents we work with what we do on the internet, because they love it and they love seeing themselves, and we're like, oh, you're famous now. You've been seen by 1 million people. They go, 1 million? No, I'm not. 1 million people. So there it is. There's 1 million people that have seen you. And we read the comments out, and that's just the most gorgeous comments as well. And, it's beautiful when we show them that. But unfortunately, not a lot of them. There is one resident who actually follows the show on her own accord, because I think she's 70. And she's got her little iPad and she watches it. But unfortunately, everybody else sort of doesn't have mobile phones still in that generation. So,
jealous.
Unfortunately, what a gorgeous life that must be. But we do show them it. But no, I don't get recognised by residents. I do get recognised by staff members now, which is quite surreal, quite cool. They watch the work we do. In the grand scheme of social media, I guess I'm a little fish still. But in the world of care, there's not a lot of people doing what I'm doing. So a lot of people see my work and they quite enjoy it and they recognise me. And that's always quite a nice moment to be recognised by a staff member, because they say, oh, well, I tried that and I saw that. And the residents reacted to it well. So thank you for putting that up. And it's like, nice. Yeah. Okay, really nice.
Yeah.
And so it should feel that way, right? Because you're that looking glass for the industry.
Yes.
For the community.
But also you don't often get to see your work have that direct impact. I never do. I make a lot of documentaries and like online shows and stuff, but you don't get to see the direct impact it makes. And the fact that you get to go and talk to people who say, I saw your stuff, I did this, and it just must be magical.
Direct impact is I guess, something I thrive off of. So I worked with young people, specifically with behavioural issues early on in my career. And with that, I always laugh. When you're working with young people, you're trying your best and you're helping them. And you do help them. And I always joke with teachers and I say, you don't realise you've properly helped a young person until you bump into them 5-10 years later accidentally in Aldi and they go, sir, you changed my life. That moment, because I've had that moment as a young person. I had some difficulties in school, and it wasn't until I bumped into my teachers that really went above and beyond for me. And you thank them because you have self-awareness now. You're 16, 17, 18, you've left school, you're 20 plus, and you can sit there and go, man, you really helped me there. But you don't get that directly. You've got to wait for your initial. You've got to wait. So it's an investment. But with the older generation, just immediate, immediate gratification. They're so grateful. They thank you massively and straight away, and they're so appreciative that you've even took time out to help them. So that, I guess, that's been the nice change in going from young people to the older generation. That immediate impact. You get to see what your work is doing right there and then.
Hi, it's Mira. Just a quick one. Can you send me a voice note letting me know who you want to donate your ad slot to for your episode?
Hey, Mira, I have to have Rainbow Dreaming CIC as my little ad slot. It's run by CAF. It's a beautiful charitable organisation. They bring a miniature Shetland pony into a care home as a form of pet therapy. The residents' faces light up. We did it ourselves with you lot. And it's just, really special. So if you can do anything, check them out. Check out CAF. They just won an award, for goodness sake. They are a beautiful organisation and deserve all of the views and all of the eyes that they can get.
What if any, like, negativity has come back from the audience with your content?
We have been genuinely so lucky that I get maybe 0.2% of negative comments. And all those are primarily, and I was speaking to Jess, who is a content creator. She had a channel, bless, called Jess and Norma. It was a grandma-granddaughter duo. She's a beautiful woman, and Norma, rest her soul. She was I was lucky to work with her and lucky to be very close. And, she got the same thing, like 0.2% of negative comments. And it was usually uneducated people who would go in and quickly go, why are you speaking to her like that? She's not a child. And so it was going into the firstly, this woman has 2 hearing aids and the batteries have died. I am shouting because she's asked me to. I was in a care home the other day. I never presume. I sort of go in at a standard level and see what they need from me. And this woman, she like pulls me over. I'm like, you all right? She goes, you have to shout at me. I'm like, what? She's like, I cannot hear you. You need to shout at me. So all of a sudden you have to change it up for certain people. And usually it's just little bits like that. People that don't work with the elderly, don't work in care, don't realise what needs these folks have and how you need to change your approach and communication level for certain residents and certain people. Yeah. So luckily, no, I don't experience much in negativity.
And do you, because this is the same question we could ask every guest, right? Because to some degree, at a certain scale, there is just going to be hate. And it's great to hear that that's actually a tiny fraction.
So far, so good.
But do you spend any time responding to it or not? Or do you just let it wash by?
I responded to one. I responded to one comment with an actual video, just educating them, telling them all about dementia and older folks and hearing and how you have to change your approach for different residents, and put that video up. And that video, got quite a few views actually. And they commented and they were like, oh, I didn't know.
Interesting.
I don't now because there's no point. I've put it up. I've done that. But it was interesting to do that and for them to reply and to go, okay, thank you. That I didn't know.
Teaching moment.
Yeah, because it's not always hate. Sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge or education.
Yeah, what I find actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it sounds like, as frustrating as it is, it sounds like it's coming from this place of wanting to protect people and wanting people to have respect.
Yeah.
But again, nobody's not having the education behind it.
There is, but there's also
people who just want to tell you what to do.
People just like to judge online. Like whatever you did, they would like to sort of like pull you down a little bit. And there's even like a trend at the moment where people, if you do something, so I don't know, like we say, oh, I'm painting somebody an old lady's house because it's looking old and decrepit, and then somebody will go and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that because actually actually maybe she doesn't like that color. And now there's like a trend in the comments where people will go, oh, you better not do that just in case you turn into Picasso.
I have seen that.
Picasso, and you suddenly, somebody steals her house because it's, it's street art. I actually love this. It's like, come on now. We just need to let people be people and stop being so judgmental online.
You're right. There's a small amount of people doing it to look out for others. But there are some people that are just genuinely malicious.
Yeah.
Just genuinely get a little kick from it. And you're never going to escape that. They have a bit more power because they're not in front of you. They're hidden behind a screen.
Anonymous, yeah.
Just to kind of close the loop on Old Friends Club, because we touched on this earlier, right? When there was a question you asked, I forget his name, the resident.
Des.
Was it? Who's your celebrity crush?
Oh, that was Mike.
Mike?
Yes. Yeah.
Kim Kardashian up in the post. And then I guess you woke up in the morning and there was a chef from Kim Kardashian.
We asked the residents.
Hey,
we asked the residents who their celebrity crushes was, and we were, we're going through some old ones, and we asked if anyone had some sort of younger celebrity crushes, anyone from my generation. And Mike came out with Kim K, and we were like, Kim K? Okay, Mike, sweet. And we put that down, and then there it was on the internet, shared on Kim Kardashian's story, and now there's like
a little winky emoji or something. Wasn't it?
There's a little inside joke now on the show. So every time we do something and there's that level of crushes involved, or we were talking about playing the next James Bond, and we were like, Mike, would you play the next James Bond? And who would your Bond girl be? And he was like, Kim K. And, he's in on it, and everybody's laughing because she shared it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention that, not to fawn over attention from Kim Kardashian as such, but it just shows the culture is talking back, right?
Yeah.
Actually that is the role now of the content you're producing and the show you have. That actually it is influencing culture,
which is pretty
even
powerful.
Part of culture like that, which
pretty
is
crazy.
really powerful.
Yeah, really powerful. To be able to do that accidentally is cool.
Exactly.
Which is why, Bailey, I want to push you on why, and I think this is just you showing some humility with a bit of humor, but you refer to your videos as silly internet videos.
Yeah.
And is that just you downplaying it a little bit? Because I clearly am about to push back on that.
Absolutely. I guess, and I do refer to my own personal stuff as silly little videos, because we do go in and they're quite wholesome and they're quite nice, and some of them are genuinely very serious and really nice, and we show the likes of residents who have gone through strokes and really made a comeback and rehabilitation. They're not at all silly little videos. Some of them are 7-second clips where, for instance, one of them went viral the other day, and I went up to a resident and it was just a snippet, and I said, oh, do you exercise much? And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh, have you started recently? No. And I was like, oh, when did you start? And she went, yesterday. And this is a 90-year-old. Yeah. So that is doing the rounds now. Yeah. It's got over 1.4 million views in 2 days. And that's something it's a silly little video. And I guess I say that because it's not really my job. It's just part of it, and I see it as fun.
Yeah, I understand why you say it. And I'm only digging a little bit, right? Because I want to get in your Bailey's universe with Bailey's vision, your work, kind of on the ground, on the front line in care homes as a front man, figurehead, content creator, and then as you touched on earlier as well, now also in policy, in Parliament, influencing the system of social care. To what extent, how much can you credit the role of your social media presence to the momentum that's building, and then call it silly, that's clearly what
you're
I'm
absolutely right. I think
nail him, Tom.
and then try to call it silly.
Coming in here,
it's not silly. It's not. But you're right. The social media was what propelled our content. It gave us a leg to stand on. It gave us the right people watching our work. So I guess I'm at a love-hate with it, because I see myself as very much, I still work in the care homes 5-6 times a week, which is maybe not as much as I used to, but I still am very passionate that I have to be in the care homes doing my exercise classes away from cameras. I work in exercise. I do exercise classes when the cameras aren't rolling. That's very, very important to me because I'm a PT by trade, and coaching is something I'm very, very passionate about. But I guess it's one of those where without the videos, we weren't able to be put in front of the likes of, Bupa, who then believed in our mission and decided that they want our work in their homes. So I love it because it put us in front of the right people. I don't hate it, but I slightly feel a bit towards it because sometimes I can be categorized into, I get called an influencer, and there's nothing against influencers. I just very much see myself as, I work in care. Like some days I'm working on, floors, dementia floors. So sometimes care homes are separated into dementia and residential. I'm working with dementia floors. There's no cameras. This is very serious stuff. There's a resident who has, a high level of dementia and low capacity, and it's all about just doing something with them. Can we get some grip strength, some cognitive function? And it's very, very serious stuff. So sometimes when I walk into a room and I get introduced as influencer, I feel a little bit harsh towards it.
This is a common theme, right? For everyone who's sat in that chair, because you're doing amazing, important work.
Yeah.
You're within a medium alongside a lot of people who aren't necessarily, and so the association is something that feels a bit uncomfortable, which is interesting, and I totally get it. I think it's not advice or anything. I was just, I don't want that to take away from the pride you should feel for it all. You should never apologize for it. I get why that feeling and that sort of slightly icky association. But
I think obviously social media is still very, very is relatively young, right?
Yeah.
It's in its infancy, really. I think we've still got a long way to go. And I think people's perceptions have changed dramatically. I remember when I first got my first job in social media, it was working with YouTubers. And my role was I worked as head of communications, and part of my role was to help drive sort of awareness and press around some of the interesting people that we were working with. And honestly, press had no interest whatsoever, unless you had a million followers or something. It was just not of interest at all. And I think slowly, we have come to see realize how important social media is to all of our worlds, and especially business as well. But there's still we still have to challenge perceptions. I think a lot. When people think of influencers, they probably think of like a beige, very kind of beigey person, and actually there's a whole kind of range. But
selfie wistfully outside.
Even just like selfie. Do you know what I mean? Or actually I think I went to a talk the other day, and they categorized. I actually can't remember the type of person, but influencer is the type of person who's much more can ride the trends and is kind of more personality kind of driven. And then like the idea of content creator is like much more kind of like craft based almost, and like really thinking about like their output in a way which is sort of different to influencer. And I think we need more language basically to start categorizing people to help give to not give you the ick basically when you're talking about this like very important job that you're doing. And we can talk about that in a minute, but how it's very important, and you don't want to be given the ick because you've been categorized
I guess
in that way.
It's not necessarily any level of disrespect towards influencers, because there's a very high amount of admiration towards people that have been able to turn their passions and hobbies and lifestyle into a very wealthy paycheck, and be able to break out of a job they maybe didn't like in the past, and now create content all around themselves and live in a very fancy lifestyle. That's fantastic. That's impressive.
You also remember that those people can be contributing to their society, their community in a different way as well. I think it's
exactly. So there's no disrespect to the typical influencer. It's just I don't see that as me. I and that's maybe why in the past I've said some of my work is making silly little videos, because I think I see myself as a personal trainer first, a coach, a fitness instructor who's had to create videos to be seen, to grow my work, to grow my company, and to fight against an already on the back foot sort of industry, to fight for that industry, to show that the world of care is important and requires funding and support and help, in comparison to maybe somebody that does makeup videos. I just, I feel like there should be more language around it.
Traditionally, you'd be a social entrepreneur and media personality, which would be attached to the industry within which you work in, and I guess that's still true, right? Like social media rather than as well as mainstream media, but yeah, the language will emerge. We should think of stuff, and even from the inside, working at Instagram, we used to come up with these narrative decks, playbooks to try and break out the creator influencer ecosystem into different archetypes and what we call them. And it was just, you move the word influencer over to this group and content creator over here, and
everybody wants to feel proud of their work. So I guess identity means a lot. And it always has, and it always will. So to identify with something you feel proud of is very important. And you can't do that if you're batched into a massive category where somebody is a bricklayer and they've got a POV pair of glasses and that's their job, and then somebody is a beauty content creator or an influencer, and then somebody is working in social care. To put them all in one basket, it's hard to feel proud of that, because you're not proud of that person, maybe indirectly, because you don't know them. You're not proud of their work because you don't know their work. So you're proud of what you do. So to put it all into one basket is very tough. So it's hard to say I'm an influencer, because it's not really what I'm proud of. I'd rather say I'm a fitness instructor. I'd rather not do any of the content stuff and be proud of being a fitness instructor, because that's my background. And
that's your integrity too, actually. You're clearly in this for the right reasons.
I'd like to hope so.
Yeah, and I guess also you're smart enough as someone so entrepreneurial to really probably think of all of this stuff we've been talking about as like a strategy and a tool.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to other social entrepreneurs out there with how to leverage social media and content creation? Like you have.
I think, especially when we talk about social entrepreneurialism, and this is another funny thing, right? I'd never seen myself as an entrepreneur. So again, it goes back to identity. It's like, you can go and go.
Let me push back on that.
But yeah, that's what I mean about identity, because you really are passionate about what you see yourself as. But for social entrepreneurialism and content creation, they do go hand in hand. I think what you have to show is your passion. And I think you genuinely have to show why you are doing what you do, why you are mission-led. I think mission-led's a very trendy thing that companies have always tried to be. But when we talk about social entrepreneurialism, companies and businesses that are done for the genuine good of the people, you have to put that mission first, and you have to show that absolutely authentically. You just need to display that. Don't jump on the trends. Don't try to be something you're not. Show what your work is, show why you do it, and show how it impacts others. Quite simply. It doesn't matter if it gets 10,000 views or 1,000 views. It's always about, and this is what I talk to about some of the people that we work with and other people in my sector who also try to make videos. 1,000 views is potentially 10 really, really crucial people that have seen your work and will help you grow and help others. Remember, online isn't technically real. It's a realm of all sorts going on. It's about, especially in social entrepreneurialism, it's about the genuine people you're helping in real life. Who are you helping? Show your work. Don't be discouraged by a slower or lower amount of views, because just to recircle it back in, you might have 1,000 views, but those 100 people might be really, really important and might take so much away from it. So just show your passion, show why you do it.
You're in Westminster talking to ministers, politicians, and then you have your work in care homes. What is the big vision? Like, where is this going? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do with all of this? Because it ties into this one thing of exercise and care homes.
It's just to help more people, man. Honestly, it's really, really crucial. Exercise for us day to day. I don't know if you folks exercise often or not at all. It doesn't particularly matter. But when we move, we feel better.
I was like, that's a little bit rude. Next time, just as you guys look like you exercise a lot would have been a better way to phrase it.
You guys are very active.
Thank you.
I don't like to presume. I don't, you know,
I'm gonna wait till I'm 90. Just move up to Grimsby.
I lost my train of thought.
What's the vision?
What's the vision? Yes, just to help more people exercise.
But how to push back on that?
Through activity, through exercise and movement within care specifically. That's my personal mission. You know, we've got to bring more exercise provisions to our older generation, vulnerable groups. I still work a lot with LD and autism and adults amongst that population. So social care as a whole to me is something I'm very passionate about, and bringing exercise to that in an appropriate and in an accessible way is something that I'm just going to do until I drop.
And how though? So, you know, actually delivering the sessions and like, you know, I guess you cover a certain area at the moment in the UK, right? Or are you actually all over?
So we're slowly expanding. So we now have coaches in Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, the Midlands, and we're getting a little bit wider over time. We're taking it slow because there are real human beings at the end of our work, and to scale up on a mass level would put people at risk, and that is the last thing I want to do. So we're very slowly bringing in more people that share our passion and our mission and bringing them onto our team and training them up. So that's boots on the ground level. That's something I'm very passionate about. I still work and operate on that level. But also one of the it's kind of sad. It's kind of just life. One of the things that I've realized is to make change, sometimes you have to work from the top down. You have to work on policy. You have to work on the people who make the decisions, because boots on the ground is really important. But who are the people that command boots on the ground? It's the people at the top. So although you can work on that very ground level, you do have to go to the top, which is where we're doing the policy stuff and the white paper reports and really showing that statistics side.
And what does that involve? Is that like, you know, we're trying to drive more kind of funding to this area, or is it driving a more awareness of the fact that, you know, this is kind of missing
I'd
in
say
a lot
it's
of care?
a mix of both.
Yeah.
I'd say definitely social care needs a lot more funding. I'd say it's not only written off by society, but written off by politicians as well. It needs a lot more help. I think what we showed in our white paper is through, if the NHS took some of their funding and correctly sort of positioned it into exercise within care homes, we could save tens of millions of pounds annually just by putting in weekly exercise classes in over 10,000 care homes to reduce the amount of falls that happen. So we're putting out a white paper on September 10th. This probably will be out.
Wow, soon.
Yeah, so we've put out a white... I'm trying to talk in the right tense. We just put out a white paper in September, and it's our first ever white paper. We've worked with Care England and Tanglewood Care Homes to show what our work has done over the space of one whole year. We've showed the communities that have been built up, the stories that have been told, and more importantly, the statistics that have showed some vital pieces of information. But what that does is hopefully encourage and help to change the mind of policymakers and decision makers when it comes to pots of funding and where those pots go and what that money does. So right now, I'm very, very passionate about showing the statistics around our work and then how we can use that to influence money to go to separate pots and hopefully help separate groups. And social care as a whole just needs a little bit more help.
And then you go to the 50 to 70 age bracket, and then you keep moving down until you get everybody.
Exactly. Although there are enough people doing, the world proud when it comes to getting young people into exercise. There are a lot of people focusing on young people, but for some reason we tend to forget about our older generation. So for me, again, I have to stay in that realm of social care because everybody else is fighting the whole battle. You've got Jamie Oliver, Joe Wicks, all fighting for young people's health and fitness. But who's helping our older generation? These guys literally built the concrete pavement in which we walk on. These guys built the tube lines, the skyscrapers we work in, the houses we live in. They fought wars for us to be here, and we still just write them off.